I just recorded the introduction and the outroduction, and I went to go import it into Premiere Pro, and it turns out I had the microphone muted on OBS. Oh, that's BS. Hello, thank you for tuning in to the channel. The channel name is neonmushroom, but he's not here. It's me, the guy with the energy sometimes to do stuff, even though I've been burnt out because basement and chains and I don't know.
Whip me, daddy.
I thank you for tuning in to see another Commander EDH gameplay video featuring the same commanders that you saw last time, because when we recorded that big video last time, we played 2 games, hoping for some different results. The video that you saw last week was the most interactive game, but this was also a fairly good game that we really want to show off on the channel, especially because it does end differently. Some things will seem similar, because when you play with the same pod, with the same players, with the same decks, you know, it just... things happen, but we hope that you appreciate this additional bit of context for these decks. Because I know for a fact that they exist online, you can find the current versions of these deck lists in our description below. I have no promises that any of them are updated after this game except mine, because I frequently update my decks online, and I can say not the same for at least Ajdin and Guy. Maybe Adrian does, but he's very busy. He's in Nebraska right now, I think, doing something with luck. I wanted to make a joke with one of the nouns of potluck, but I had to say luck, because if I was going to say he's doing something with pot, that'd sound completely different. Alright, for opening hands, Ajdin is giving us 2 forests, an Allosaurus Shepherd, a Sylvan Library, a Llanowar Tribe, a Llanowar Visionary, and Freyerly's Llanowar's Fury. After that, Guy is giving us a Shizo Death Storehouse, a Snow-Covered Swamp, a Snow-Covered Mountain, a Talisman of Indulgence, a Grid Monitor, a Deadly Rollick, and a Phyrexian Arena. Then Adrian is giving us a Glasspool Mimic, an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, an Ancient Tomb, an Arcane Denial, a Talisman of Indulgence, a Mirror Gallery, and a Treasure Cruise. And then finally, Calvin, who's opening with a Liliana Death's Majesty, Tassiger's Cruelty, Mana Crypt, Unnerved, Bloodstained Mire, Command Tower, and Silent Clearing. Round 1, Ajdin won the die roll, so he'll open the game with a forest before casting Allosaurus Shepherd, passing the turn. Guy will then draw for turn, then drop a Snow-Covered Swamp before passing the turn. Adrian will drop an
Ancient Tomb. Oh. There's always gotta be a guy.
Then pay 2 life to tap it and cast Talisman of Indulgence. Then Calvin will drop a Bloodstained Mire, and then pass the turn. Round 2, Ajdin will untap, draw, then drop a forest before attacking Adrian to 1, dropping him down to 37. He'll then cast Sylvan Library, and then pass the turn. Guy will draw for turn, drop a Snow-Covered Mountain, and then he'll cast Talisman of Indulgence, passing the turn. On Adrian's turn, he'll untap, draw, then drop a Training Center before tapping out to cast his Vial Smasher, losing 3 life in the process and dropping to 34. On Adrian's end step, Calvin will crack his Bloodstained Mire, searching his library for a Godless Shrine, and drop into 39. This will end Adrian's turn. Calvin will untap, draw, then drop a Command Tower for turn, then cast Mana Crypt. He will then tap out to cast the spell Unnerve, making everyone discard 2 cards. He'll then pass the turn. Round 3, Ajdin will untap, draw 3 off the library but putting 2 back. Then he'll shock in a Stomping Ground, dropping him to 38 before attacking Calvin for 1, dropping him to 37. He'll then cast Llanowar Tribe and then pass the turn. Guy will then untap, draw, then drop Shizo Death Storehouse as his land for turn before casting Soul Ring. He'll then cast Phyrexian Arena, and then he'll cast Sphere of Resistance. He'll then pass the turn. Adrian will untap, draw, then he'll drop Urborg as his land for turn before casting his other commander, Sakashima, dropping himself down to 32. This will trigger Vial Smasher, and he'll hit Guy with the trigger, dropping him down to 36. He'll then attack Calvin for 2 with the Vial Smasher, dealing 2 commander damage, dropping Calvin down to 36. Calvin will untap, win his Mana Crypt trigger, then draw a card. He'll then drop a Castle Arden Veil before tapping out and delving 2 to cast Tassiger's Cruelty, making everyone else discard 2 more cards. He'll then pass the turn. Round 4, Ajdin will untap, take nothing off the library, and then he'll cast Incubation Druid before attacking Calvin for 4, dropping Calvin down to 32. He'll then pass the turn. Guy will then untap, take 1 off the arena before drawing 2 cards, and then he'll cast Arcane Signet. He'll then cast Zancha and give it to Ajdin before passing the turn. Adrian will then untap and then cast Clone, losing 2 life off of his Ancient Tomb. The clone will come in as a copy of Sakashima, which means he has a 3rd copy of Vial Smasher, and Sakashima and Vial Smasher will both trigger. He'll roll the dice and he'll deal the damage to once Calvin and the 2nd time Guy. He'll then move into combat and attack Calvin for 4, dropping Calvin down to 24 before ending the turn. Calvin will untap, he'll lose 3 life from his Mana Crypt trigger, and then he'll draw for turn. He'll tap 2 in order to cast Soul Ring, and then he will drop an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. He'll then tap out in order to cast his commander, Tevesh Szat, Doom of Fools. He will then tick the Tevesh Szat up in order to make 2 thralls before passing the turn. Ajdin will untap, take nothing off the library, drawing a card, and then he will attack Adrian for 5 damage and Guy for 1 damage, dropping them to 25 and 30 respectively, before passing the turn. Guy will untap, take 1 off his arena, and then he'll drop a snow-covered swamp as his land for turn, before tapping out to cast Blim, as well as a Waste Knot. He'll then end the turn. Adrian will untap, draw for turn, and then he'll drop a Marsh Flats as his land for turn. He'll crack it and then shock in a Watery Grave, dropping down to 22, before tapping out a lot of mana, losing 2 life to his Ancient Tomb, and delving a lot of cards in order to cast
Treasure Cruise.
Holy shit.
This will trigger his Vial Smasher, and his Vial Smasher.
Beep beep. Beep beep.
Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Beep beep. Beep beep.
Oh god.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Beep beep. Beep beep.
He's then going to move into the red zone on Calvin, dropping Calvin down to 15. He'll then end the turn. Calvin will untap, win his Mana Crypt trigger, draw a card, and then he'll tick up Tevesh Szat again, sacrificing a thrall and drawing 2 cards, before dropping a Hall of Heliod's Generosity as his land for turn. He'll then try and cast a Liliana of the Veil, but it's going to get countered by Guardianship. This will trigger Vial Smasher 3 times again, which is going to deal a lot of damage again.
Beep beep.
Once to Ajdin, once to Guy, and then again to Guy. Ajdin will evolve his Incubation Druid at Calvin's end step. Round 6, Ajdin will untap, draw for turn, taking nothing off the library. Then he's going to tap 4 mana to cast Triumph of the Hordes,
Ho ho ho.
giving his team +1/+1 and an infect. He is then going to turn sideways on Calvin. Calvin will respond by bitterly activating Zancha, trying to draw it out, and then he'll die. I will untap, lose a life to his Phyrexian Arena and drawing an additional card, then he'll drop a snow-covered swamp before tapping 3 in order to cast Demonic Tutor. He'll search his library for a smoke, and then he'll cast the smoke. He will then attack Adrian with his Blim, Comedic Genius, dealing 4 commander damage to him, and he will then give Adrian the smoke. This will cause Adrian Ajdin to lose a life and discard a card, which will trigger the Waste Knot. This will let Guy draw 1 card off the Waste Knot, as well as give him 2 mana, and before it goes away, he will tap a 3rd mana in order to activate Zancha in order to deal some damage to Ajdin and draw an extra card. He'll then pass the turn. Adrian will untap his land, untap only his Vial Smasher because of smoke, then he'll draw for turn. He's then going to drop a Luxury Suite before attacking with his Vial Smasher against Guy, dealing some damage to him as well. He'll then tap 3 mana in order to drop a Dimir Signet, triggering the Vial Smasher, the Vial Smasher, and the Vial Smasher, and dealing a lot of damage to the board again. He's going to end up dealing 2 of the triggers to Guy and 1 of the triggers to Ajdin. He'll then pass the turn. Calvin will do nothing because the dead don't speak. Round 7, Ajdin will untap, take nothing off the Sylvan Library, and then he'll cast an Emerald Medallion before passing the turn. Guy will untap, he'll take an extra life off the Phyrexian Arena when drawing his card, and then he will drop a Snow-Covered Swamp. He will then tap 3 in order to cast a Jet Medallion, and then he will tap 4 in order to cast Nether Void. At the end of Guy's turn, Adrian will activate Zansha, drawing a card. Adrian's turn, he'll untap his lands, he'll only untap his Vial Smasher because of the smoke, and then he'll draw a card. He'll then drop a Drowned Catacomb before tapping his Ancient Tomb, losing 2 life to it, and another mana to activate Zansha once, drawing a card, and then he'll activate Zansha again, drawing another card and dealing a lot to Ajdin. He'll then cast Talisman of Dominance, letting it be countered by the Nether Void, but triggering his Vial Smasher, and his Vial Smasher. He'll deal 2 damage to Ajdin, 2 damage to Ajdin, and then 2 damage to Guy. He'll then pass the turn. Round 8, Ajdin will untap, he will only untap his Incubation Druid, he will take no damage off the Sylvan Library, and then he will attack in on Guy for 6 damage. Guy will block with the Blim, taking only 3, then during Ajdin's end of turn, Guy will activate Zansha, to which Ajdin will respond by spitefully activating Zansha himself. This will kill Ajdin. Guy will untap, lose 1 life to the Phyrexian Arena, and then he'll drop a Snow-Covered Swamp, before tapping out to cast Blim, Comedic Genius. He'll then pass the turn. Adrian will untap his mana, untap only the Sakashima because of Smokestack, draw a card, and then he will tap his mana to cast Spark Double, which will trigger Vial Smasher, and Vial Smasher. Guy is smashed. So, let's talk about it. If you watched the last video, which I really hope you did, I think a lot of you actually did, then you might notice that the game opened roughly the same. The Tevesh Szat deck had a fast start, which just buried the Kamahl deck in disadvantage. If you're sad about the Kamahl Jeska deck, do not be sad about it for too long. It will have its time in the sun very soon. It was a very good game. No spoilers for the future, but it makes Calvin Traeger want to build a deck that does not have white in it. Times that. The Blim deck and the Sakashima deck traded places. Instead of the Blim deck getting sped run by the Tevesh Szat deck and discard, the Sakashima deck was able to get ahead because no one board wiped. Surprise at what happens when you don't bring a board wipe to the party. The more you know. This time around, the Blim deck was able to start getting some of its hate onto the board, but it didn't matter. The Nether Void, in particular, was a very spicy late cast, if it wasn't for the fact that Adrian already had 3 Vial Smashers in play. So he was able to cast spells into the Nether Void, let them get countered, but it didn't matter. The Vial Smasher still triggered, dealing all the damage he needed. Trigger. That's the thing the whole internet wanted to see. Sakashima cloning Vial Smasher and a clone cloning Sakashima, which that is the order you do things in. You clone Sakashima with the extra clone. You don't clone the Vial Smasher, because then if the Sakashima gets destroyed, you still have a redundant effect of no legend rule. It's very important you clone the right thing. And that is the main reason we really wanted this video to be on this channel. We wanted to show proof that, when Treasure Cruise is cast and you have 3 Vial Smashers in play, it is very bad for your opponents. November is the month that we do things, but November is also the month that we need to start doing things less, because I'm burnt out, Adrian's burnt out. That's not completely true. We both had a good night's sleep last night. But we're going to be slowing down a little bit. We're shifting gears into doing a couple different things on this channel. Still expect to see EDH gameplay videos, but do expect to see something a little different tomorrow, because Adrian's going to have a gun to my head if we don't actually do the thing that we have set out to do. So expect, if you don't see a video up tomorrow, that I'm dead. If you like this video, be sure to leave a comment, especially subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be a part of the notification bell squad. I have no funny jokes anymore. I fear for my life. Goodbye. Adrian will drop an
Ancient Tomb.
Oh.